Welcome to our greatest global of all time family of listeners and viewers. And today, as promised, we're bringing you a show with content that is highly important, very explosive, and very detrimental if this bill should happen to pass to not only our veteran community and families, but also our first responders, which includes police officer, EMS folks, and firefighters, along with our current serving troops on active duty in the military now. So I want to get into what our show is all about. But before I do that, I want to thank our sponsors for this week. And we want to mention Roland Forti at Forti's Radiator and Complete Auto Repair Shop here in Palmyra, Pennsylvania. And at Forti's, they're at 51 South Mark Street in Palmyra. You can reach them at 833 5131, and that's in the 717 area code. So that number again is 717 838. I'm sorry, I did say 833 earlier, but that number is 717 838 5131. So hang up the phone, Roland. I know you were just about to call and say, hey. So I got you fixed up there, brother. But this shop is fantastic. It's like if you have your classic cars, your older model cars, and your very like custom vehicles that you want just the right guy to work on and handle, and you know who's doing the work, bring it to Fortis. They work not only in radiators and AC service, but major and minor repairs, uh, everything from batteries to radiators, alternators, starters, motorcycle tanks, um, whatever you think, whatever's valuable to you regarding an automobile, I would say give Fortis a call before you call anywhere else, and let the guys over there take a look at it and give you a very honest assessment and a very honest uh, estimate. And we also want to thank and welcome Hardee's. Hardee's Famous Hamburgers, the restaurant in Myerstown, has agreed to partner with us throughout the summer for some events and definitely support Project Intervene. And they are also, the Hardee's is such a strong military supporter of not only our veterans, but our troops and families. They're supporting Project Intervene along with some other organizations which directly work with our veterans and families. So this is great. We have a great event coming up June 11th at Hardee's in Myerstown. Uh, Follow us on Facebook for some more information. But I know the Pharaoh's Car Club of Lebanon, they are going to be there. In fact, they are the great folks who made the introduction uh, for the manager over there, Miss Danielle, who, if you get over there and she happens to be working, just ask for her so you can tell her hello and give her a great thank you for all that she leads to do over there, and has Hardee's blessing and support to help our veterans and troops and families. So if you're over there at the Hardee's in Myerstown, let them know you really appreciate their concern and caring for our veterans and families. We have some new family members. We do this every week, and it's beautiful. It seems like God just wants to continue blessing us with new family members, new community partners. And this week, I believe we have four, if I'm looking at this correctly, four new family members. We want to thank Debbie and Palmyra. Um, we got into a nice short conversation, and the project intervened in our veterans, and the show came up. And I got to tell you, she was very interested and wanted to know more because she is very conscientious and asked how she could help in this whole mission. So, folks like you, Debbie, thank you. You're great. You're great. We love to find folks like you in the community. We also want to welcome Emma who is currently serving, and she is serving over in Syria. We know President Trump was just over there, uh, but Emma is serving over in Syria. And we have Doug, who's in northern PA. And Doug is a very strong supporter of everything that we're doing through Intervene, and has some other things that he and some folks are doing, which are dynamite. And I'm sure we'll be working together on these issues as well. And also, Mike in central Pennsylvania. Mike, thank you. You're a huge supporter, great friend to veterans and families. And I'm really, really glad to have you guys on board, all of you in the community. That's how we reach and become more and more effective. The more folks that we're involved with and realize what we're doing, understand what we're doing, and saying, hey, you know what? Let me help you because I may know someone that could benefit by what you're doing. It doesn't always have to be about, the ultimate, where we're talking about someone not taking their own life, but there are, as we teach, it's a process. So there are many steps in that process. So the earlier we can get involved, the higher our chances for success are, and that's what we like to do. So I want to welcome everybody to the show, our greatest global family of all time. You guys are fantastic. I'll tell you, I am so happy in my heart, which is why I bring you these smiles and this joy. I feel like the most fortunate and blessed man on the planet because I'm not smart enough to be able to do this all on my own. It's like, nah, this is God and this is you folks. So thank you. Thank you. Uh, so our show today is we're beginning a series to report on and combat Senate Bill 756, which was authored by none other than Lebanon's own very, yeah, you blow me away, Chris, with the audacity you have at proposing this bill, really. Uh, so I'll start this over again. Authored by Lebanon County's very own Senator Chris Gebhardt. Yes, with 40 and 10 gap right in your backyard. Uh, it's incredible you would propose a bill like this. But before we even get into that, what I want to do is I want to present the facts as they are that you have written, which is very very vague in your bill. It takes a lot to figure out the intricacies. Other than that, it looks like just something to protect the public for. Uh, wow. Um, and also, I'm going to read this verbatim here in a minute, but you have some verbiage in there that talks about wanting to prevent organized crime and loan sharking, laundering money, things like that. And I got to tell you, I'm going to bring this to full circle where I'm going to show folks just how hilarious this is. And I'm right because with a name like Santori, I might have a little bit of clue about what I'm talking about here. So, bravo. You put in there some really interesting language, and we're definitely going to sift through it. So I am going to now, before we even do that, I want to give a little bit of information here. Um, First of all, I'm going to give a blanket statement, and I'm going to let folks know exactly what uh, this Senate bill is all about. And the bottom line is it is about money, which, when it comes to America and government power, if you want the answer to any question, it's follow the money. It's about the money. Um, so here and again, this does not stray from that. And what's happening is this new bill is slapping a crushing 35% tax on skill games. Um, and what I mean by skill games, these are games that folks in the VFWs, the legions, excuse me, the fire companies, fraternal order of police, social quarters, and pretty much any organization that has a community service tie-in to their avocation or occupation is under this scrutiny. What happens is these games, these skill games, are awesome. It's a total win-win. All right, there is no loser in here, other than the fact that the government is not getting their cut of the pie. Okay, it's as simple as that. There's a lot of money on the table there, and the folks who are supporting Chris Gebhardt and his co-sponsors have been urged to get their paws on this money, which wouldn't be a bad thing. Okay, we want to share and share alike. However, this sharing is totally unfair because what it's doing is it's taking away from the win-win situation, which keeps the doors open for the VFWs, the Legions, volunteer fire companies. And we say, well, all right, well, what's the big deal? Why is that so important? Well, considering the fact that Pennsylvania has, as of September 23, was the last data that I comprised, was just under 1 million veterans in this state. Uh, we're like number 1 or 2 in the country. I believe Texas and California lead us. So that puts us at number 3, to be politically correct. Uh, so yeah, we are the 3rd in the nation, and we have 67 counties in Pennsylvania. And if you take 67 counties and give it an average of 8, and that's on the low side, take an average number of 8 social clubs, VFWs, Legions, in the counties, and that includes rural, because Pennsylvania is mainly a rural state. So a lot of the data comes from rural statistics. So if you figure that out and you take 67 counties times 8 social organizations, which obviously we know that's low, but we're going to be conservative here. Um, that turns into quite a significant number. And that also turns into quite a high number of revenues. Now, what do we do with these revenues? Why are they so important? You mean it's not just about going and sitting there playing what? And I'm not using this as like uh, verbatim. Just to give somebody a mental picture of what we're talking about. You see in the casinos, and this is important. Remember that casinos. Uh, this will come into play here in just a little bit. But in the casinos, you see folks at the machines, putting dollars in, 5, 10, whatever, and then hitting or not hitting, whenever they seem to strike. And this is what we're talking about with skill games in the clubs. All right. Now they're set up on a whole different um, uh, rhythm. Okay. They don't work the same as the gambling machines. We're talking about 2 different machines here. So I want to make that distinction. Am I an expert enough to speak effectively about that difference at this moment? No. I was at a function where that difference was presented, and I must apologize with all the other information that was presented. Um, I wasn't able to keep that in a slot in my brain, but I will get that information for the next show so we can talk, very intelligently about it. But the important thing is these are different. These are set to what we can equate to a totally different biorhythm. And the benefit is that the clubs make money by having these machines and having veterans and social members come in and play these machines. Well, how do they benefit the folks playing the machines? Well, they do pay out, and they do pay out in a very fair capacity. Otherwise, we would know about it. People would be like, they would be beating Senator Gebhardt to the punch as far as getting these things regulated, getting something done about it. So believe me, Chris, you're kind of like behind the wave on that one. But that being said, these machines create a great stream of revenue for the clubs, which allows them to pay their bills, cover their expenses, and hold functions and activities and other things, and do things in the community. These clubs support various community operations. Um, so they're very effective. They're very needed. The folks, the members that go into the clubs and use these machines, participate in them, they know it's a win-loss situation. They're not in there saying, "Gee, I got a mortgage payment, so I'm going to go down to the club and I'm going to walk out of there with 1,500 to pay my mortgage." That's not it. Um, it's a thing where it's like, okay, we could walk out of here with some money, or we could come out of here with, well, we spent it, didn't win it. Tomorrow's a new day. Um, so this is what they're all about. Our folks who are members in these clubs are very much in tune with being part of the club itself. Um, it's not like being in a town. You walk into a bar and nobody knows you. You don't know anybody. So, maybe you come there, maybe you don't. Uh, and it's really like, okay, very impersonal, no attachment. Uh, Whereas when we're talking about the Legions, the VFWs, the social clubs, we're talking about family people here. You know, when we talk about veterans and we say, okay, well, who is a veteran? Um, Let me tell you, we are an elite fraternity. Our fraternity predates the Civil War, which President Lincoln is credited for enacting the legislation founding our fraternity. So, veterans, we go back that far. Uh, there is no other fraternity in the world where we are brothers and sisters and have the commonality that we signed a contract on the line that could require sacrifice of our lives. We signed that contract hoping it would never need to be fulfilled. Yet at the same time, we signed it knowing full well if that was required, we would do it. We're unique. Okay. We are unique. Um, so that kind of makes this even more, uh, I would like to say personal, but I need to really uh, be mindful to remain professional in this. Um, but we need to realize, you know, it's guys like us, the whole fraternity, that do what we've done and are continuing to do to enable us to live the lifestyle that we live. That means, in part, to elect or not elect government officials who are passing bills that are obviously detrimental to the folks who maintain these liberties, and to have the audacity to do so is a slap in the face. Uh, so we're going to move on from there, because that was like my personal moment. Okay, we're going to get away from that. But just know that it really runs deep. We're not talking about increasing a per capita tax here. Um, we're talking about something really different. Uh, and the bill, what it does, okay, is it strips away income that many have counted on for nearly a decade, and hands oversight to the PA Gaming Control Board with regulations that are tougher than those for casinos. All right, now I told you casinos would come back up here, okay? Um, Now we're going to break this down a little bit, okay? Because when we talk about oversight, regulations, things like that, what are we really talking about? We're talking about taxation, we're talking about fees, and who collects these fees? Government. All right, what is the government giving in return? Gee, well, they're allowing you to have permission to keep these machines going, to continue to pay them more and more revenues. They don't care about the folks in the club. That's that's not their concern. Their concern is, hey, if you give us now here, okay, here comes the loan sharking and the money laundering and the leaning on, right? Okay, what they're saying is, look, we're going to be your silent partner. All right, you're going to pay us, and in this case, you're going to pay us 35 or 40% to keep your doors open. We'll be your insurance policy to make sure your doors stay open, and you can continue giving us our 35 or 40%. Gee, what does that sound like? All right. And then it's talking about tougher than for those in casinos, favoring out of state casino owners over PA small town businesses. Let me ask you this: what would be perceived as a direct competitor, direct threat to casinos? You got it. These machines and these clubs, even though they're really not, because there is so much out there. There, you know, honestly, casinos do not miss folks in the clubs because we're talking about a drop in the bucket. The clubs do not affect the revenues of casinos one iota. Okay? They don't. That doesn't even require rocket science to figure that one out. Okay? The point of this is casino owners are saying, look, we want to be the only game in town. We want to be the monopoly. So what we're doing is we're throwing a whole bunch of interest to guys like Chris Gebhardt to say, hey, how about you write this legislation? You will make sure, you have the support you need to work on it. And we're going to have you do so. And here is the verbiage that I wanted to bring to you earlier. Here is what you're going to say. The whole purpose of it is because you want people to believe you care. All right. Now, this is the memo that is associated with this bill. Okay. I'm just going to read it real quick verbatim. Each of us has seen this is by the senators, and this is by Senator Gebhardt. And in a minute, I will get to his co-authors. Okay. And all of you, shame on you. All right. And let me know if any one of you has ever worn the uniform. Please let me know that. I need to know that fact. As each of us has seen in our respective districts, unlicensed gaming machines have proliferated throughout the Commonwealth. We're watching the money that we're not getting a piece of. We have heard from our social clubs, fraternal organizations, and small business owners about the positives this new revenue source has created as the results of opening these machines. Where's the problem? Here we go. However, we have also heard about the potential harms associated with the operation of these machines in current unregulated environment. Okay, again, where's the problem? Without a regulatory structure in place, taxation, fees, the Commonwealth cannot determine the number of machines that are operating across Pennsylvania. And here you go, whether appropriate taxes are being remitted or address problems, gaming issues, and addiction. All right, so what do we say? We want to see whether appropriate taxes are being remitted. Well, what did you guys have to do with bringing the machines in the first place? Which one of you? You guys are funny, man. Exactly as I said, you figured out something else is going on that you don't have your paws on, and the casinos can't oversee or control. So therefore, we need to get in on this. Okay. So here we go. Without a regulatory structure in place, okay, the Commonwealth cannot determine the number of machines that are operating across Pennsylvania, whether the appropriate taxes are being remitted, and whether payouts are offered by these machines are fair to the player. Now, I'm sure that's your number one concern. Currently, these devices lack any enforceable age restriction and have no safeguards to prevent or address problem gaming issues and addiction. Okay, well, let's liken that to a casino and tell me what's different in a casino other than the hashtag if you have a gambling problem, please call 1-800 I gamble too much. Um, you guys are hilarious, man. Uh, okay. Rendering these cash filled machines an attractive target for criminals. Yeah, we're just going to bring M13 right into the Anvil VFW and say, empty your cash machine. That's going to happen. Really? Wow. Okay. Um, Furthermore, a large number of these machines operate in locations that lack security. You got military people in there. What kind of security do you think is better than that? All right. Then they go on to say surveillance. Well, most of them have cameras in the clubs or on-site employees. You're right. You go into a VFW or a Legion, it's like self-serve. It's like you go to Walmart and you got to, send your groceries through the scanner, right? Come on. Rendering these cash-filled machines an attractive target for criminals and a dream for organized crime, money laundering efforts. Wow. That's a stretch, man. But I'll tell you what, you guys are funny and you don't have a clue. Recently, Commonwealth Court decisions have determined these machines are not captured under the state gaming law like casino style slot machine gaming terminals. Well, there we go. It is imperative. Oh, yes, it is imperative that the General Assembly act now to protect. Oh, here we go. To protect our constituents and our communities and reduce the strain on state and local law enforcement. Wow. If you can tell me the last 3 incidents that law enforcement was called to um, any VFW or Legion in Dauphin, Lebanon, or Berks County, I'll apologize for laughing in your face about this one. Until then, ha, ha, ha. I believe we can accomplish this goal while also supporting small businesses, social clubs, and fraternal organizations with a new and reliable revenue system. Quite true. The new is going to be much lower, and the reliable is we know it's going to be much lower because you're now taking your piece of the pie. And guess what? It even goes far deeper because what what you propose to leave on the table is not sufficient for these clubs to keep their doors open. And folks, starting May 28th, is a Wednesday evening, we are going to begin bringing shows live from these local VFWs, legions, fire companies, fraternal order of police, social clubs, and we're going to be visiting with these folks, and we're going to talk to them unannounced. There's no script, and we're going to get the honest, as I said, 100% true, uh, realistic expectation of this bill should it pass. And what I'm saying is the whole purpose of this show and for the next couple of months at least is going to be to make sure this bill does not pass. Does not pass. And anyone who understands what's really going on here and can see the damage being proposed to our soldiers, our firefighters, our EMTs, our police, our families, our social members, as provided you understand what's going on here, there is absolutely no way you could consciously support this bill. It just the only way is if you wanted to vote Biden back into office, then you would fit that parameter. But obviously, we've learned we're smarter. We don't even have to be a Republican to know that's not the wise choice. Um, so when they're talking about here supporting small businesses and social clubs and fraternal organizations, that's what's happening now. Why would you have to change that? Why would you have to endanger their existence, their continuation? And let's take that one step further. Picture in your mind, okay, these clubs closing, all right? Where is the membership going to go? What is the membership going to do? And what are the social programs that these clubs support? What are they going to do? And I just want to point out to you, the front of my shirt is for Project Intervene, which supports veteran suicide prevention and reduction. Is this something that would encourage that type of support? Or realistically, do we think that's kind of like playing with the numbers, tempting fate, and saying, gee, if the numbers go up in that area, we don't have anything to do with that? Seriously? You're doing something harmful here. You need to rethink your position, even though we can understand um, common sense and heart do not fit with money and greed. It's just that simple. Okay. So let me bring the ending paragraph here. Therefore, we intend to introduce legislation authorizing the Pennsylvania Gaming Control Board to license and regulate a limited number of machines for operation at certain liquor license and lottery licensed establishments across the Commonwealth. Our legislation will further ensure that fair and appropriate taxes are collected. Fair to who? Appropriate. Who decides what's appropriate? 35% to 40%? Who thinks that's appropriate? The casinos and the folks backing you. That's who thinks that's appropriate. And how you're going to say your legislation will further ensure fairness? How does changing what's already working, supporting, and helping, how does changing that become a fair statement? I don't get it. I don't get it. And like I said, if you can document to me 3 instances where law enforcement was called to a VFW, Legion Fire Company, or Fraternal Order of Police Social Club in the last month in the counties of Dauphin, Lebanon, and Berks, I'll gladly apologize to you. But until then, forget about it. So they end with please, or he ends. Please join us as a co-sponsor to formulate a solution on this important issue. The solution is leave it alone. Um, just leave it alone. Now, I want to take one more little bit of our time here, and I want to talk about who these wonderful co-sponsors are and really call them out. We have Senator Kim Ward, Republican in District 39. Senator Joe Pittman. Joe, you surprise me. Why? And Senator Rosemary Brown. I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with either you or Senator Ward, but obviously you're ill-informed to want to co-sponsor this bill, and we're definitely going to be visiting with some folks in your district as well on this. And I invite you all to respond. I will give you definitely a window of opportunity that we can go live on the show, and I will entertain your responses as to why something like this could possibly make sense. And I'll gladly give you that opportunity. In fact, as a journalist, I am like required to make that offer as part of the media. So I'm extending that to you now. Please contact me, Sal Santori, at area code 717-455-7086, or feel free to send an email to sal at the kzcvo.org. Again, that's sal at the kzcvo.org. And by all means, I welcome some time to sit down and sift through this. And hopefully you can show me some of the finer points that I haven't been able to reconcile with here in this bill. So thank you for tuning in today. I am very glad we've gotten to visit on this, and there is nothing greater at the moment than defeating this bill, the the potential harm is incredible. And as far as I know, there is not even a plan in place to address the fallout. Uh, what do we do? All right. Are you telling me you would be okay with clubs closing their doors that have been available to our veterans and social members, police force officers, and first responders, firefighters, EMTs? You're telling me you're very okay with them closing their doors and then stopping your happy cash stream of 35 to 40%. So you got to find it from somewhere else. But that's okay with you? That's okay? Why don't you make some other funding sources available, uh, so that it would replace the money that you're taking in taxes? That's my challenge to you. If you want to take out of the left hand, figure out how you're going to put it back in the right hand. Maybe we can talk about that when you respond. So for today, thank you all for listening and tuning in. This is Sal Santori, your host from coast to coast. I appreciate all of our listeners, and senators, I welcome your reply. Um, and by all means, we can sit down and have a civil conversation, I think. I'll try. I don't think any of you are in a foxhole with me ever, so it might be difficult, but okay. As always, thank you for tuning in, and please find someone to help. We will see you next.